Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 145B of Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan. Good to be with you all again today. And a reminder, we're now up on YouTube. Follow THPN, the Hockey Podcast Network. And Tales with TR now has 5, about to be 6 podcasts, pretty much fully recorded and ready for your viewing. And about to be 6 because my guest today played parts of 8 seasons in the National Hockey League after being drafted 97th overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 1992 NHL entry draft. His best-selling book called Painkiller is a rollicking story of a young athlete navigating his way through professional hockey while battling a few off-ice demons. Ferocious opponents, sometimes more ferocious off the ice than on. He lived to tell the stunning story, and now this former cocaine cowboy is an inspiration to many worldwide, including myself, and remains one of the most talented and scary enforcers I've ever come across, booze or no booze. He is a respected right winger, a tough teammate, a sneaky sniper, a wild westerner, cold lake killer, rub-a-dub-dub. He was a rock star at the pub. On any given night, he'd score, drink, and fight. He used to drink Sleemans, but overcame his demons. He could easily be dead, but is a role model instead. There was a bunny named Bugs, and this guy beat drugs. He's a good-looking man, and he played in Spokane. His book is worth every penny, and he's an inspiration to many. Folks, we're coming up on spring, and you'll need to change your tires. And please welcome to the show the amazing Brantt Myhres. Here he is.
Oh, buddy, like your first one you did on me a year and a half ago, I thought there's no way to trump it. But anyways, wow.
You know what?
The cocaine cowboy's a good one, bud. The cocaine cowboy, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
I think, that if you got a book too, that could have been it.
The cocaine cowboy. Yeah, wow.
I mean, at times,
there's a movie on that.
You know, I don't mean to poke fun at your addiction, of course, and I'm sure
have
people
to.
You,
No. If I don't look at that TR and I respect it, right? But I also look at, when I was writing that thing and I had to go over it, I started laughing at some of the things that just seems like a completely different human being back then than what I am today. So.
I'm glad you say it, because the other thing is, I read it again multiple times. I've probably read it 4 times.
Yeah.
Fully through and through, and I've gone back and looked for quotes and stories, which I'll get to. And we're going to get to some more stuff, because we've already, for those that don't know, interviewed Brantt. It was episode 30-odd. It was a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we really dissected his book and his life and his career. And there's lots of ups and downs. It's poignant. It's interesting. It's fun. It's all of the above. But so we're going to touch on that today, but I want to touch on some other stuff, because just randoms and of course, what you went through. So getting back to what I was going to originally say, I find it fascinating too, because the book, poignant, I guess would be the word, but it's such an inspirational story because of what you went through. And you have to focus on those things, but at the same time, as bad as it was and as crazy as it got, and I mean, to the point of near suicide, really. I mean, you think about the damage that you're doing to yourself and your friends and everything, but at the same time, right? Because that's on display. There is a boy growing into a man that's playing hockey, that's overcoming his goals, that's having fun. Like, in the room, you played with guys in junior, and then, you run into them in pro. I don't know. Alan Egland, someone like that, that you played with in the Western League. And there are fun memories. And, at some point you played in your first NHL game and scored an NHL goal for the first time. Yeah. So there's also a ride there that you can't really always focus on because of the nature of everything else. But, I mean, what were some of your favorite things about going to the rink, say, when you were in junior hockey?
Well, I mean, I'm glad maybe that you brought that up, because I think that I tried to portray the love for the game that I had, and the love for the dream that I was chasing down, just as you did, TR. You know, for you to walk in, I don't know if you remember the first time you walked into the Habs dressing room in your first NHL game. Did you remember seeing your jersey hanging?
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
remember
right,
that.
right.
I don't remember the following like month or the next bunch of times, but I do remember the first. Like I can even smell the
Yeah,
dressing room. I can see what I'm wearing. I can look at my underwear, the light blue, powder blue, that underwear we all had.
yeah, exactly. And
The memory's there. It's etched into my mind. Yeah.
yeah, and it was for a brief second for me when I opened the door and I was looking around the dressing room in Hartford and I saw Myhres 27 hanging.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just, and then I start going, okay, what does 27 mean? Because it wasn't my number. I'm like,
Wow. Isn't it funny the mind games you play as well?
yeah,
Even at the
I'm like,
exciting
it's
times.
got to be Dave Semenko. It's got to be Dave.
Wild.
But
And it was in Hartford.
it was in Hartford. Yeah, I mean, the day before, I was just skating around in Atlanta in the IHL, and the practice ended. We had a coach named John Parrish Jr. I think I write about him in the book.
Yeah.
Really good guy. Anyways, he come up to me, and this is another vivid memory where he tapped me on the shin, and I turned around, and he said, "You're going to the show tomorrow." And I just, really? Where am I going? He goes, "You got to fly to Hartford tonight." And then it was a blur up until when I opened the door to the dressing room. When it comes to what did I love about hockey, and my father told me early on, and I remember I was suntanning and I was like 14, and I had the music going. I think I had a little Skid Row playing or Bon Jovi or something, right? And I said, "Hey, Dad," he was making some soup or something. He said, "Yeah, what's up?" And I said, "Hey, do you think I could ever make it to the NHL?" And he said, "Not a chance." He was pretty blunt. He saw my work habit at that age.
Yeah.
He said, "But son," he said, "I'll tell you what." He said, if you promise that you're going to do everything that I say," he said, "the life that you'll lead will be better than anything you've ever dreamed of. The women, the money, the fans, all of it." And I'll never forget that conversation, because when I made it to the National Hockey League, and one of the times that it really struck in my head was actually you had him on last week, Darren Langdon.
Yeah.
Langer, who personally to me is one of my favorite fighters to YouTube. Yeah. And I love the balls on that guy. I love the fact that to me, he was the most technical, smartest fighter to ever play in the National Hockey League. Hands down.
That's high praise, and I can't say I disagree with you.
Being that size. That size. Okay.
Yeah.
But we played New York one night when me and Langer had and we scored off at center ice in MSG. And I remember before the fight happened, I was making sure that Wayne was watching this, Gretzky, on the other bench.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, the God that I grew up with idolizing is sitting 15 feet from me right now.
Just wild. Yeah, that's wild in every sense of the word.
And then, so we have a fight at center ice. And I'm in the penalty box and I see Gretz, he goes out for the next shift or whatever. And I'm looking around MSG and I go, I can't believe what my dad said is true. And it trumped it by 100. It was just the most amazing thing. So, buddy, as you were in the show and there's nothing, it's weird, for guys, and I don't mean this to be mean in a bad way, but in the American Hockey League, your socks smell different. Yeah. The jersey feels different. Yeah. The ice feels different. Yeah. But when you get to the National Hockey League, there's something about it that smells different and it feels different. And you're in the National Hockey League. And that's what I loved.
Yeah, it is such a it feels like, even looking back more so now, but such a privilege, because for me, I've tried to put this into words before and I can't. I imagine me of too many words, to say the very least. I ramble too much, but I can't put it in. It's almost poetic. It's almost encompasses everything at once. There's a movie now in the up for the Oscar, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Mm-hmm. That's what when I walked in and I saw that, it was like every person that said I couldn't, every person that said I could, every great coach, every bad coach, every time I was offered drugs, every time I said no, every time I had a beer, every time I didn't, every whatever it was, every fight off the ice. I wasn't a choir boy either, not quite you, but everything. Me and Sheldon Surrey and Quinnell, how many times did we get in with a drunk driver stupidly and come out of it okay? How many times did we do the other thing in Tri-Cities? We convince people not to get in with a drug. Like so many times, it's such a roller coaster. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, of all those decisions, good, bad, and ugly, some important, some not, here I am. And I'm looking at my jersey on the Montreal Canadiens. There's 20 people going onto that ice tonight, and I'm one of them. And they're picking me to play for them. And I was just like, that's kind of the way I see it. And I don't know if it's the overwhelming anxiety, and I don't mean that always in a bad way. Anxiety has turned into this negative thing, but I was just highly strung, and I would like to harness the energy the right way. So if I got to the rink early, I could do that. It actually helped me sometimes, right? The anxiety can, if you use it the right way, harness that energy the right way, it can help. And I remember that. It was just almost a burst, like those commercials, those Skittles commercials. It was that.
So
and then going out onto the ice, I mean, you tell me, your first game, you're wheeling around with the jersey on. How the fuck does that feel?
Well, I was going to ask you, obviously there's, if somebody said to me, hey, Myhres, like, what were maybe a couple regrets that you had that you could have prolonged your National Hockey League career? Because TR, I was looking at your stats last night, and you had 50 Gs in junior.
In my draft year at 17. And not only that, as long as we're tooting, I'm going to toot my own horn here.
Wow.
For that year, that was a lockout year. So everybody came back, right? Langkow led the league in scoring, but he didn't even get invited to World Junior Camp because
you had 70 games. You had 110 points and 200 PIMs.
200 and without tens. Remember, they didn't allow tens in the early 90s. Remember that shit?
Okay, so here's a question for you.
Yeah.
In your first National Hockey League game in 1996-97, you had 3 games in the NHL.
Yeah.
Why didn't you have a fight?
You know why? Because that's a great question. I was actually coming off of a concussion, and I fought Domi in camp.
Okay.
And the year before, when we're done this, those that are listening, Google a little. I'll send you a link. It's Terry Ryan gets hit and Damon Langkow and Byron Brisky respond. That's the tag. It's on YouTube, and you can see it. I get hit coming across the middle by Kevin Pop, and I'm out, and then my head hits the ice first. 4.5 hours, Myhres, I was out. I woke up in the Seattle hospital, and knowing 4.5 hours, I was out. Woke up in the hospital in Seattle, and the All-Star game was the next day. I remember walking out. I flew to the All-Star game, got off the plane, couldn't even see, and I played that night. And then the next night, okay, so it's the way it worked. That was, say, Friday. On Sunday, we played Kelowna. Sheldon was my good friend, and I went to hit Sheldon, Surrey, that is, and I fucking bounced off him, and I had another one. I had a series of crazy concussions, all from getting hit, too. All those fights never happened. It was from, but I felt weird. It's Myhres, I know I'm rambling, but that year, that was 96, 97. If I had been okay, I would have stayed there all year because they had I got sent back at the deadline, but what it ended up...
you went to junior. You went to Red Deer that year.
At the deadline, and it's the only team I didn't fight. I was very conscious of it. But Myhres, I was playing with a tinted visor. I was, rather than take time and sit, and I don't think everybody really understood or really believed it because I had anxiety as well. But I know it. When you see this, you're going to see it. But I was there, and so I really... you know how I took myself out? I was in Phoenix, and I had Keith Tkachuk grabbed. That was my job, to get a guy like that off the ice, and I couldn't see straight. And he said, and I told him, I nearly puked on the ice. And going off, I looked over at the fucking bench, and I go, Gaetan Lefebvre was his name. I go, Gates, I'm fucked up, and you can't tell me I'm not. I want to throw up. I can't see the other side of the ice. Flew myself to the Mayo Clinic. in Rochester, Minnesota, the best neurological place in the world. Talked to Pat LaFontaine. He phoned me. Not for any reason that he was affiliated with me. He was going through that same thing. I felt great to have somebody. 25 grand later, I went home a week. This is true. And Reggie, to be honest, the Habs did pay me back. I think they didn't realize how bad it was.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no fighting, no fuck all. I took 2 full months, went back to Red Deer, and scored 32 and 33 games, set the record in the playoffs, 18 goals in 16 fucking playoff games. But I didn't get in one fight in Red Deer. It's the only year that I didn't get in one. The next year, I led the American League in fights with 34.
Wait, when you were with Freddie?
Yeah, 34 tilts, 256 minutes. I didn't get a lot.
And you had 21 goals.
I know, it was great. But I had Michel Therrien. I fucking hated Therrien. But people think that he didn't play me. That's why I hated him. No, I just didn't like him. But he played me as long as I went out and was a good soldier. That next year, Junior was one thing. I remember once, starting a fight. You ended up fighting Ryan Marsh, but I would fight tough guys if I had to. It was more. But when I got to that next year, then it was like Frank Bialowas, George Larocque, Peter Worrell. It was real. Right, and I fought all of them for fuck's sakes. And the year before, missed with a concussion. Anyway, I just rambled. I'm sorry about that. It's your interview, for fuck's sakes.
No, I was looking at your stats last night, and I said, Jesus Christ,
yeah, the timing was fucking bad.
Yeah, and you know what, bro? I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. If the hockey gods in some way aren't literally lining up perfect, you're not going to get a shot. What I mean by that is, so I played Hartford my first game. I fought a guy named Mark Janssens in my first shift.
And let's say this as well before you even start. I remember Spoke. I looked at your stats too. I don't normally look at them. You had over a point a game in Spoke. When you played, you could play.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't have to before you get into that. So people know you weren't just dropping your gloves and one shift. You could play if you had to. You could have easily played third line in the show. Not embarrassed. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would have liked to have had the chance to turn into like a Randy McKay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my last year and a half, I was playing on the first line in junior and first line PP and all that stuff. So I could play the game. But, when I talk about hockey gods and how things need to line up, so I played Hartford my first game, and then I fought Janssens, and I hit him on the button, and he went down.
Yeah.
And then we fly home to Tampa, and we're playing the Flyers with Dave Brown. Okay. I am so sick to my stomach. I remember I was on the toilet, and I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I go, oh man, we're playing Philly tomorrow. Brownie's in. And he goes, well, son, keep throwing. And I'm like, yeah. So anyways, what I mean by this is we're warming up, and I see number 21 fucking dangling on the red line with the left jersey tight. And the wind wheel bucket. And I go, I'm in trouble tonight, man. Like this isn't going to be an easy fight.
Wow.
So we get off the ice, we go to the dressing room, and Wayne Cashman comes in, our assistant coach, and he takes his thumb and he licks it. And he goes to the fourth line where Brown is on the wing, and he marks it off. And I just went, oh my God, he's not in. Olgie's not playing tonight.
Oh God, what a relief.
Well, I go out and I score a goal in my third shift. If Brownie's in the lineup and he maybe breaks my face, my career is completely different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, man. Things really need to line up for you when you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. And I would never normally, it's my podcast. I know there's people listening, but if I'm on somebody else's, I don't like talking about it a lot, but I just know in my heart that I could have gotten 20. I know it. It sounds really presumptuous to say that, but I played an exhibition. I saw what it's like. I played in the regular season. I played, and it's not like I didn't fit in. I saw it in exhibition. I felt comfortable. I scored a few goals, and I've looked at my numbers in the dub and in the minors, and there's no reason that it wouldn't. And let's say 20 might be, but if I couldn't get 10 goals and 10 assists and be a checker, then
Yeah.
I don't know. I would really I honestly would be very surprised. There's no way to find out, but I don't know. I felt comfortable. It's not that I didn't feel comfortable in the NHL, but every time, and that was probably the biggest thing, Mizey, getting up at 19, and they had all these injuries. I mean, I made it, and then
Yeah.
just like I had that injury, I went back, and then Michel Therrien. But you know, outside of that, I love what you just said because I often thought like that. Like, and there's sometimes like like right now, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm you know, I did. I don't talk about it much, but I always wanted to either be a writer or an actor or something. And I kind of fell into it. It's not like I
Yeah.
went searching for it, but now I get to do it on TV. And the thing
Yeah.
is, I was a reckless player. I would have, like, I could have gotten injured. I could have fought Tony Twist and broken my orbital bone and not being here to tell the story. I mean, I really don't know. So I can
Yeah.
go, I played in the NHL, fucking not like I wanted to, but I can
Yeah,
say that.
but bro, here's the other thing. You're on Crave. I mean, like I get, 4 games in the show and grinding it out and all that, but I got a subscription to watch you on Crave. So come on. Like like everything's going pretty good for you.
Oh, yeah.
I told you a couple years ago that I think that with your personality, people just love to watch you. So congratulations on
You said
everything that
that
you've
years
done.
ago. You did. And I
I
mean, I
did. I
don't know
said it
what
about
happened. It's turned out that we're talking about me the whole fucking time, and that's going to change. That's going to change. Next question.
So
Well,
this
you
is
did. So thank you.
hey, this podcast is my podcast, and it's called the Cocaine Cowboy
Yeah.
Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cocaine Cowboy, episode 1. My guest today is Terry
That's
Ryan.
a great name for a podcast, bro. I
It is.
I might get that going.
Hey, it really is. And you, if one person deserves that, and I mean, because it's a cool name, and you've been
Yeah.
through it, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But listen. So speaking of that, I always get the question from, because I did. You were another fucking level, and you know it. I fought guys, but I always knew that if I could fight someone like you and still be on my feet, it gave my team a bit of momentum because I am probably on the upper end of tough middleweights, but I'm a middleweight. I knew that.
Yeah.
So, but you're going and it's still. There's the anxiety thing again. I remember a few times making me so sick to my stomach, but I didn't always hate it. Sometimes I was mad, and I do have a fire under me, and I'd be like, "Let's fucking go!" Right? That happened too. That happened too. But when you got to start, like in junior, I heard your name like first and foremost. My first year junior, you were the toughest bar none. But there's always somebody tougher. So just take us back to that. When you see Brown, now you get up there and you realize why you got drafted. And I'm not saying only, obviously you had to play too, and you had good stats in junior. You really did.
Yeah.
But you know that they really love that you're really, really tough. So you're going and playing these teams.
Yeah.
And unlike me, was going, maybe I'll probably get in a fight, but I'm thinking about scoring, who I'm going to play with. You've almost got to focus in and laser focus on the top 3 or 4 fucking killers on the other team.
I know. It's
so how did you approach it other than boozing? Because but like,
Well, I was first and foremost, I was a fan of all these fighters.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Like
you're a fucking fan of hockey like I am, and you grew up watching these guys.
I all of a sudden there's guys like Crowder and Kimball and Twist and McSorley and all these guys that I was watching videotapes of fights all summer when I was 17, 18.
Yeah.
So now, and some of these, and the guys I really sort of was like in awe of were anybody that made it on Rock'em Sock'em Hockey at the end when they showed the fights, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was just a wild experience. Thank God that I was young and dumb and I was filling my face with alcohol. And I don't mean to say thank God, but what I mean is like my reward system. I had to give myself a reward system after that
good
day.
Way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm like, okay, Mize, like, okay, you're not going to be able to sleep tonight. no problem. You're not going to be able to eat or sleep tomorrow at noon for the pregame nap. No problem. You're going to still be a little bit sick at the game. You're going to be fighting in front of 19,000 tonight at home. No problem. But here's your reward system when you're done.
Yeah.
And from fucking 11 o'clock at night until about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it's going to be on. And you're going to have a blast. So that's how I had to do it to get through.
Yeah. Interesting. So listen then, because I love that you're a hockey fan and you come from the Edmonton area. So, I mean, Dave Brown, you would have seen these guys who are killers. They're like part of your, you form your idols when you're, 10-ish, like when you're a young kid. So that's wild too. I mean, I'm watching senior hockey, but to you, not only is the NHL relevant on TV, but they're in your town. They're playing, and they're the best team ever, and they got some killers. Yeah, it was McSorley, all guys, Brown, you just mentioned Langdon came in. Like, these guys are all on the menu. But because there must be a point, like that, it went from in warm up, you're not focused on the game. Like you come out, you're in warm up. And now some people are excited about the game, but your excitement is for after, okay, get through the game. And then after we're going to have fun. Like, did that happen right away? Or was it a transition?
That happened when I was 17 years old in Lethbridge.
Really?
Yeah.
That early?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I found a love for whiskey and Coke. And then I found a love for country music. So the country bar in Lethbridge was and Boston Pizza. They had good pizza and they had cold beer. Yeah. So for me at 17, that because I led the whole. It wasn't even the Western League. I led the whole Canadian Hockey League in fights that year.
Yeah.
As a 17-year-old. So for me, I was going a lot, and that reward system that I needed that thing to chime in once in a while. So. Yeah, it started at 17, and it literally didn't stop until my first rehab.
Wow. See, because we are really, I really think there's more in common than not. Like if there was a Venn diagram, the middle would really, there'd be a meat and potato. You and I have a lot in common as hockey players, as friends, as parallel minds. But I don't know. I can only think of a few on one hand that I was in warm up, not thinking about the game, and it wasn't always booze either. It would have been like, I hate Michel Therrien. How am I going to get out of here? Like, feel disconnected, and and not to bring that. I fucking forgive him. Whatever, that was years ago. I'm just telling you, that's the facts. I remember that being alarming to me is that I'm here in warm up and I'm not even thinking about the game. And meanwhile, I think about what other people like yourself are dealing with. So, and I said every question wouldn't be on to do with your book or your addiction, but it's fascinating. It's still fascinating.
Thank you.
The most fascinating part of all of it to me, and it's crazy. This book, crazy is the wrong word, but it's very. I've talked about folks that haven't read it. Painkiller. It's inspirational, but it is mesmerizing. The times that the second chances that I'm not even talking about the NHL, even though that's mesmerizing life. But there's a part of the book, I believe you're in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And you've put in your time. You've put in your time. You're finally sober after a long and I think they're in a hotel room waiting to interview you.
Oh gosh. That to me probably was the most insane. That's when I could check myself into like a psychotic mental institution.
That's what I can't believe. Like I can see people reaching, and I can't identify with this substance abuse, but I can't believe that you waited that long and did you get on the booze that night. So tell us that story.
Oh gosh. Well, so I was suspended, I believe, for my third suspension. Was it 3 or 2? Might have been 2. Anyways, one of those 2. Can't remember. And I had to stay sober for like a year or whatever. And I think I had I believe around 10 months sober. I was living in Sylvan Lake, which is about an hour and a half from Edmonton. And anyways, the doctor called me from the league and said, "Hey, we hear you're doing great. And I was like, I was sober. I was going to meetings and they go, well, we want to just assess you because Gary Bettman, we've got to, write and tell him that you're good to go to get reinstated. I'm like, yeah, great. Well, when? And they go, oh, in a couple of days, I'm going to be at the Westin. And I said, great. I'll see you there at 9. We'll have a nice breakfast. So.
And you've put in your time.
I put in my stone cold sober, going to meetings, excited to get reinstated. And as I'm driving or as I'm sitting there, I go, well, why don't I just drive into Edmonton and like stay at the Westin? I go, that'll be easy. I can just hang out and it'll be a easy place to go and get in touch with Dave. So I get a room at the Westin, literally one floor below Dave. And I just remember there's a scene in the movie. I think it was that Flight movie with Denzel.
With the alcohol bottle.
And I vividly remember opening the mini bar and seeing all the bottles. And I go, you know what? I go, I don't got to meet this guy till 9. I'm like, I'm just going to have a couple
unbelievable
couple whiskeys and shut her down. So the next thing I remember, it's 8:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
I'm sweating bullets. I've got Coke all over the counter in the bathroom with this girl that I'm with.
Man.
And my buddy runs in and he goes, Mizey, you got a meeting with the head NHL doctor in 30 minutes. And I go, I do? And he goes,
holy fuck.
And I snap out of the cocaine-induced high and I go, fuck, I do. I go, shit. So I get in the shower. I get out. I didn't have any cologne, or maybe I did. I used some Brute or something, and I took it on my glands, and I did that, right? I go, I'll be right back. And he goes, don't go, please. I go, I got this.
Wow.
So I go, shit. So I go knock on the door, and my heart's just vibrating. And he opens the door and he says, hey, Brantt, how you doing? Come on in. And
oh my God.
I never forget. He goes, you want a coffee? I'm like, a coffee? I'm like, if you knew how much caffeine I've been on for the last 10 hours.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, man. It was wild. And I walked out of there after.
So were you sniffing or were you?
I don't know. I don't remember, other than I sat down in a chair. He was sitting across from me. And we just talked about what I've done the last 10 months, about being sober. And, I'm so grateful to hopefully get another shot. And they call me maybe 3, 4, 5 days later and say that Bettman reinstated me.
And then that's what's incredible. So if it didn't stick then, it was Chloe, right? I'm skipping ahead.
Oh, you mean once I finally got sober?
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to go there, but I'm just, because that's fucking amazing. If you can't get sober for that, especially after being sober all that time, and not only to have a few drinks and go off the wagon, but really to do it in that kind of, at some point after the 2 whiskeys of all things that smell. And
I know.
Then you get fucking a bag of cocaine.
Yeah,
at some point, that seemed logical to you.
I had what happens when the whiskey kicks in, there is no logic.
Wow.
So then the blow, then the alarm for the blow happens. And once the first line happens for me, all bets are off. Like there's no, you got a meeting the next day, or you got to fucking do this. No.
Just like, Tasmanian devil. Just come to town. Once you do that, and it's just fucking reckless in every direction.
Yeah, it is taking your foot and slamming it to the fucking floor with the pedal. Like
it's incredible that you're here telling this story. I mean, I know you know that, but
I think it is. I mean, I want to believe that this was all done for quite honestly, Terry. Like I've played in the NHL and scored a goal or a few and fights and all this. But bar none, for me, the proudest thing in my life that I've ever done was, one, be a good dad to Peanut, and secondly was the book. Because when I look at written, about what I've been through as a human being, it just takes me back, and I just go, way to never give up. Like, like,
Yeah, I mean, really, I thought, that most people, I can't say I thought because I wasn't there when you were going through that. Always aware of you, and of course, I'd say hi. And
yeah.
right, the last few years, though, we're real close friends. But
Hmm.
I, and I knew you were out there in Sylvan Lake. I played junior in Red Deer. Folks that don't know, Sylvan Lake's just outside of Red Deer, and but it is. I just knew you were out there partying. I didn't. I, I,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of how crazy the parties were getting, or that for any amount of time that you were sober like that.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's the kicker, that story, and that you could come back after making such poor decisions. And when I say you're lucky to be with us,
Yeah.
I don't mean in the amount of drugs that you did. What I mean is that if you can make that decision, I mean, what other decisions did you almost, but not more, could you have made? What if you scored some in Chicago and then robbed the plane? I mean, I don't know. You could have been, you're doing coke. It could have been, I
Yeah.
mean, somewhere you got these, someone has a gun, right? At some point,
Yeah.
it's not like a
Oh,
little
I
bit of weed on
know.
the side. Wherever you're getting it all over North America too. You don't have one hookup in Edmonton. You're going all over as a celebrity, going into
Well,
these towns, getting coke. Like you know how many times you could have been.
well, you know what though, Terry? Like, that, I don't get that house in Sylvan Lake unless those cops let me off the hook when I flipped that Harley Davidson.
Yeah,
There is no Sylvan Lake.
that was the Bob Probert.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I flipped that Harley and I get back on it and I got no helmet and I got blood on my shirt and I don't even have a motorbike license and I get pulled over at 3 a.m. and they fucking let me go and I hide under a truck
God,
until they
so much to unpack that they let you go. There was just one thing would have been enough, but
they they let me go and I hide under a pickup truck until they leave and I get back out and I start the Harley and I get on it again.
fuck, man,
Like, it's so, but
fucking amazing, dude. It's just amazing.
yeah, so the house doesn't exist. If the cops take me in that night and book me for what I should have been booked for, right? My career at that point is done pretty much. Like, I'm fucked. But I cried my way through it and I begged the cops and they let me go. So yeah, it's the whole thing from, just how it all sort of kept going for me was, yeah, I guess, I don't know, insanity, however you want to,
Was any of it
say.
self-sabotage? Did you feel like imposter syndrome or something? I mean, it's like you're going out of your way to
Well,
put
number
yourself
one,
in the worst possible position.
yeah. So number one, the feeling that I had after I fought Larock and I had surgery the next day, and the doctors told me that, you're done fighting. That feeling that I had was just incredible. Like, you got to think, from the time I was 16, that burning anxiety or nervousness or sickness or whatever, I had that for 16, 17 years.
Always expected to fight and always
Yeah,
expected to win.
exactly. The pressure was so when they told me that I was done fighting, so my point about the self-sabotage is, I think, yeah, so when I got suspended, every time that they got longer, right? It was 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then 2 years. But every time I go away, I go, well, at least I don't got to fight for a while
Wow.
in
Yeah.
treatment, right? Like, it was a way to just, so yeah, maybe there was a self-sabotage. And then the more that I, didn't have respect for the women in my life, the girls that I loved or that loved me, the just more of the pit that I fell into. So it was, yeah, never ending cycle.
Yeah. That is wild. At any point.
Oh, by the way, I saw your daughter. Her name's Penny Lane, right?
Yes.
She's a beautiful little girl, and I'm so proud of you to
Thank you.
to see the father that you've turned into, because I know personally, for me, just being a single dad, it's the most beautiful thing and the hardest thing I've had to do, because I didn't have,
Interesting.
yeah, I didn't have what's the word, like a guideline when I was young because of the household that I was growing up in. None of it made sense to me. The beating of my mother and the beating of me and the beating of my sister, my brother, none of it made sense. So and I didn't, so then my grandparents take me in and they're my saviors almost. So when I had a daughter, I did it all alone again. And I'm like, okay, like, how do I do this? So
but it's great that you responded that way. Some people would be the same,
well, that was all based on recovery and sobriety though. Like,
okay,
I'm not there for Chloe. Let's get this straight.
Yeah.
I ain't there for her if I'm out fucking around and drinking and doing drugs. That her dad is nowhere near her.
Yeah.
So it enabled me to be there for my daughter whenever she needed me. Whenever. I was never late for a dinner. I had never missed an opportunity that I said I was going to be there and I didn't show up. So anyways, all I'm saying is I'm proud of you to see the dad that you've turned into, which is great.
Well, thanks a lot. It's as you know, Penny Lane's mom lives in Calgary. She sees her. Danielle just came back a couple of weeks ago, but Penny Lane, to say the way we live is unconventional, because her mom does live out there, but there's a lot of love in her life. To get back to it, I asked myself the same questions. I didn't really ever think about it even. I can't say I didn't plan on having kids. And if you had asked me at some point when I was younger about what I'm going to look like when I'm older, there probably could have been a kid next to me. I don't know. I just never really thought about it, right? But it certainly wasn't planned that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but anyway, you ask yourself those questions, but don't you find as it plays out, you kind of learn together, because they're learning every minute. But
you know who I really learned from? Was Hammer Sheldon Surrey.
Yeah, I guess so.
And Hammer has a daughter that's relatively close to Peanut's age, and
I see that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how many times I called Shelly, and I'm like, bro, she's 11, and this is happening. My eyes just settle down. This is what's going to be going on, So he really guided me through, and a lot of the stuff he said, you got to let go. This is fucking killing you. Like, you got to let go. Like, even now, Peanut just turned 15.
Yeah.
And it's hard when they get older, man. They're not your little babies anymore. And it's just, the cuddles go away. And I'm a pretty affectionate guy. And if I'm not getting hugs all the time, I don't think I'm loved. And, that kind of stuff.
It's a process, right? It's ongoing. Yeah.
So, but anyways, I just wanted to commend you on that, for doing that.
Well, thanks. And I know I really appreciate it, because that's of everything. I know it sounds cliche, but it's probably, when it's said and done, it's ongoing, but it's probably your biggest accomplishment,
Yeah.
When you're talking about all these things and weaving your way around like hockey. Well, to be responsible for another life is overwhelming at times. And I don't just mean overwhelming in a bad way either. To keep you learn on your fucking toes, man. Trial and error.
Yeah.
NBA fans, it's time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, for a limited time, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. And if it doesn't hit, you'll get a free bet back. So, what are you waiting for? Download the app now and sign up with the code THPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly. Again, that's code THPN, as in the Hockey Podcast Network, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details.
How are you still connected in the game?
In the game?
Yeah, like hockey. Do you still watch it all?
So I watch. Like I've always rooted for Daryl Sutter, and I like Luch. I love Luch. ties in Calgary. So I've been cheering for, I'm not a fan really. Like I don't like, but I like to see Calgary do well. And they're in the push right now. I watch the game, but I'm not involved with a team anymore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So when you go to Edmonton, I know you're going to be in and around there soon, more than you have been. Will you go to many games?
You mean hockey games?
Yeah.
No, like I took Chloe to a game against the Bruins, and my buddy Jim Montgomery's coaching that team, so I wanted to go see Jimmy and hang out with Jimmy, and it was Peanut's birthday that day, so that's really the only reason why I took her. Other than that, I just watch him from home.
This is off topic, but you played in Philly when the Legion of Doom were happening. And I get asked a lot because my first game was against Eric Lindros, and I think people are starting to forget how dominant that guy was. Like when they go, well, I haven't seen anything like this since Gretzky or Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bedard. I'm like, I don't know. There was Eric Lindros in there. Are you guys forgetting? In 1991, he played on Team Canada. He was a junior. He was fucking phenomenal, but you played fucking with him. I know he was a friend and everything. I know that, but
Biggie,
was he as dominant a force as I would have imagined? I got one game in my head to think about live, but you played with him.
I remember a couple things about Biggie. So one, he was an intimidating force when I played against him in Tampa when we played Philly, and then when I walked into the dressing room, he was one of the first guys to come up and, hey man, great to have you, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Which is awesome to hear.
Which is great to hear when you've followed his career and he's one of the best at that time.
Yeah.
And then I see him walk around the dressing room with no shirt on. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like no fucking fat, 240 pounds, jacked. And I'm like, okay. So then we go out, and to play on the same team as this guy, to see what he does was incredible. And he was just it's hard to explain, but I think the people back in the 90s that watched his career for that decade, I guess it would have been from 91 or 92 maybe, up until that 8 years with Philly for sure, before he got smacked. I think he was 1 or 2 or 3 in the league for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if Terry. I started watching that Thompson kid, Tage or whatever. Yeah, and I started thinking, wow, here's finally a really big guy, that can dangle, right? Yeah. But think about Tage Thompson, even producing more points, and killing guys with bone crushing hits.
Hits. He would often it's just, to me, you know what really, as a forward, I don't know, man, picture the best up to that point, even since. Okay, if Connor McDavid was skating up and it was a 2-on-2, if he threw it into the corner and hit the D, it would almost look weird. He's going to try to get him out. I know he does do it. He dumps it in here and there. He has to. But Eric Lindros, that was a thing. If I'm not quite getting you wide, I'm just going to lay it into the corner and you're fucked. That was part of the plan. Gretzky, Lemieux was a big guy. It was never part of the plan. I'm just saying it was this wild dynamic to a star that you never, ever saw before. My favorite, Mizey, was that he hadn't played a game in the NHL yet. It was 1991, and it was the Canada Cup. And he played on that team, and he was one of the best players.
I think he was 16. Or no.
I think he was 17.
91. He got drafted in 90. He was 17.
Okay, so yeah.
Because he got drafted in 91.
He hadn't in the NHL yet.
Yeah,
and he was hitting everything that moved. It was almost comical to watch. And I'm like, God, this guy's in junior. Okay, imagine that. It was right now, Bedard is the biggest prospect that we've seen recently. Even go back to McDavid and Crosby. But they wouldn't have played on Team Canada without playing in the league yet.
Probably not. I'm trying to think who would you say that has been comparable to Big E since he retired? Like let's not even count when he went to the Rangers or he went to Toronto. Let's just focus on what he did in Philly. Has there been anybody ever, other than maybe like Mark Messier, to literally dominate in both aspects of the game? I guess you could. Oh, you know what? You know who's close? Shanny.
Yeah.
Brendan Shanahan. People don't realize this guy had over 2,000 penalty minutes. He had 600 goals. Like, talk about a complete package player. So I would say Shanny. The only closest thing would be Shanahan, possibly Messier, but that's it. There's nobody else.
I honestly, I'm glad you mentioned Shanahan because I'm sick of saying it. I don't know what happened. I don't know at what point people forgot this guy. Like you just said, was it 600 goals? Like, think about that. And he was fucking tough, and he'd initiated. There was no fucking around here. Like,
Well, he fought more than Big E did. So he fought more but he didn't lay those killer hits. But he played dirty. I shouldn't say dirty. He played the way we played in the 90s.
Snarl on, yeah.
He played with a fucking snarl. He had over 2,000 PIMs. He had 600 goals in the National Hockey League. He had 2 Stanley Cups, I believe. Like, this guy to me is regarded one of the best all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're never gonna so I'm trying to think today, who hits really hard and scores goals? Is there anybody?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen anymore. You hit a guy high, it's a penalty.
Yeah, there's guys that aren't afraid. Like Evander Kane will answer the bell if he has to, but he doesn't really go out and hit. He could. When he hits, he's a fucking good hitter. But I know, like, he was looking for the hit. He was getting a lot of hits. And there's other guys that just rub guys out. Lindros, it was a tactic. It was like, get the fuck out of my way or I'm going to hurt you.
If you look at our team, so that year in 1998, we might go down as the biggest team ever. So we had Lindros, we had Leclerc, we had Chris Gratton, we had Joel Otto, we had me, Danny Kordic, Danny Lacroix. We had Shell Samuelson on the back end with Desjardins. We had
Desjardins, who was he was finesse, but he was big.
Unreal. We had Luke Richardson. We had Gar Snow and Ron Hextall in net. You want to talk about a big team?
Wow. Yeah.
Like, guys averaged 6'3".
In 94, 95, I believe they made the final. They just
actually they played Detroit the year before I got there. So they played Detroit in 96, 97. They got swept 4 games.
But they made the final.
Yeah,
right?
They made the final. Okay. Yeah.
It's my memory. My memory always doesn't serve me correctly. But I remember Lindros having a huge year and them at least making the final. Okay, so
I wish he'd do more on. And I don't mean to say that in a negative way. I wish we'd see more Big E.
Yeah, I know.
In
like
a way,
on a panel or something.
Yeah, like something. Like he was just such a legend and a great guy. I just wish we'd see more Eric. I mean, we start to see lots of Gretz and Mess and Chelly and these guys.
Yeah, I know, right?
But,
Gretz is like on TNT.
Yeah.
Weird
Big
how
E,
that all happened. And now
E.
it's normal. Like,
yeah.
But it's funny. About 5 years ago, maybe 6, no more than that, I was in Ontario for the summer, and I always check in with the alumni there, and because there's a lot going on. And there was Eric Lindros's golf tournament. They needed it was three games of golf going on at the same time, so they needed 3 sets of 18. So I guess they were low on guys. So I got the call. Ron McLean was there. He's a buddy. So Ron said, "Come on out. We'll get you paid." And go through an alumni thing with these legends of the game and everything, and some guys that I were friends with. So I was pumped. Yes. So I go to it, and Ron had me sit with him, but it was at the head table. It was when Lindros was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. Whenever it was that time. So anyway, I sat at the fucking head table with Lindros. It was just really, because Ron got me an extra seat.
Yeah.
But I didn't open my mouth, man, because in this case, there was a lot of legends there. He was going through that, and
Yeah.
and it was speak when spoken to. But I was really surprised at how humble he was because of when he held out when he was younger. I mean, had this nasty ferociousness. I just thought he'd be a cocky fuck, but he wasn't at all. It was completely the opposite.
Well, I remember we went to Ottawa, and I said to him, I go, you want to go in the, because at that time it was the Westin and it was attached to the mall. And
Yeah.
I said, I go, you want to go to get buy some dress shirts or go to the food court? Because Mizey goes, I don't think I can go. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's just, I get hounded quite a bit in these places. And I'm like,
Right.
fuck off with the big league shit. I go, let's go. I'll meet you in the lobby. So we open the door to go into the mall, and there's like 30, 40 fans waiting for him. And we literally couldn't go shopping. This is pre-internet. This is pre-anything, right? You're getting the fucking hockey news back then. That's about it.
He was as big as you could get, though.
Oh, he was so big back then. And just to imagine that type of player with his looks, let's not forget.
Let's not forget. You're fucking right.
How fucking good looking this man was when he was 18, 19 in the National Hockey League.
Chiseled too, and even his fucking face is just like a Greek god.
Yeah, like a Greek god. Like you could market him on anything back then. So 6'5", very, very good looking man, making 8 sheets a year. Best player in the National Hockey League. Think about what type of attention that would get today.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I mean, this Connor kid, this Bedard, they're going to be able to probably market the shit out of him too if he can produce on sort of what he's been doing.
Now, after hockey, you went to school.
Yeah.
What's your what did you? It's a degree.
Oh, substance abuse. Yeah.
Okay, and that was in Calgary, right?
Yeah.
So how did you like that process?
It was great. It was, I was ready, TR. Like I was ready for a change in my life, And when I got to school, the league was just so good to me. Thank God. They paid for that. I had no money, and they paid for me to go. And I just remember sitting there and going, okay, this is the first step. Like, because people got to remember, like, I didn't get hired by the Kings until 2015. So it took me 7 years of sending proposals every year for something to crack, Yeah. And I just remember Dean saying, okay, well, you got your certificate in Alberta. I want you to go back to school and take these courses in California, and I'll pay for it. So I did. And anyway, school was it was great, man. I was starting to learn about me, and why the hell did I go into that room at 9 a.m. when the doctor was there? Yeah. Why did I get back from underneath the truck after the cops let me go? Why was I doing that kind of stuff? And I started to go, oh, Brantt, you have a disease of the mind. And when your brain gets introduced to alcohol or drugs, you react differently. You're wired differently than some other people. Oh, okay. So that's why I'd make those decisions, because I don't do that when I'm sober. I only do that when I'm drinking or doing coke.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so night and day that it really shows, like, your story in the book, and each time I even converse with you, it's so night and day that it almost is. That's part of the inspiration, is that people go, Jesus Christ, like, this guy here is the one I'm reading about. This smart, articulate guy. This dad that doesn't really want to fight. He's like, you big fan of hockey growing up, but doesn't sound like a madman.
Yeah.
How about this? Give me a few players that you like to watch. Now, I'll tell you, people think.
Oh, this is gonna get good. I like
Well,
this.
I just tell you,
I like
I
that.
often get asked this question, and people go, "Well, it's a different game." Like, I don't know, Johnny Gaudreau would never last back then. I'm like, no, they would. Not everybody in our era fought. There was a lot of guys that did. Some guys, but like I remember looking at Pierre Turgeon and going, like, there's a guy you never, no matter what era, he's not going to get in fights, but
Yeah.
he's so slick with the puck and his hockey IQ and just the way he handled himself out there. And I remember being in awe of his. No, there was other guys, Koivu, Recchi. There was guys that didn't really fight a lot but he was real finesse, like a real throwback to almost Shinny. Like, of course he wouldn't fight because he's graceful out there. I remember going, and I loved watching him. Now I also loved watching Shanahan.
So
But
what years are you talking about? What decade? Like
I'm
what
say
area?
now, right?
Oh, what players do I like to watch now?
Now I would say for me, like just for example, I mean McDavid's obvious, so let's take him out of the equation.
Yeah.
But I like a little bit of both.
Mhm.
But I love watching Patrick Kane, and there's no angst or physical game really there. But I love watching that. I love Tage Thompson,
Yeah.
and I guess I really enjoy watching Mitch Marner.
Yeah. So you're talking about as of like when I watch hockey now.
Now, like
What players do I like to watch?
Who do you like? I guess they could be tough, man. It could be whoever. Just who stands out?
Who do I like to watch? I guess like I'm trying to man, oh man, I hate to say this, but I still love to watch Sid play.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man.
Yeah. I get the whole McDavid thing, and obviously he's doing his thing with his points and stuff. But the career that Crosby's had, are you fucking kidding me?
Imagine that in this
what he's doing,
what
what the fuck he's doing right now at his age.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Like he's getting, I get it, he's getting older. But people got to remember, man, like this guy's dominated the National Hockey League for 15 fucking years.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too. Until you got hardware on your hand, I'm sorry. You've been a great player. Like you've been a good, great, whatever you want to call it. But you have to have fucking hardware on your fingers.
There's something to be considered. Said for that.
Absolutely.
It ends the argument anyway, doesn't it really?
And hey, sorry, Iggy. Sorry, Joe Thornton. I fucking love both of you. I think you guys are unbelievable hockey players. Admire what you've done. Iggy got shafted there in Game 6 back in the day. Should have had a ring. But anyways, I'm not taking away from the great players of the game. But when you start comparing guys and you go Sidney Crosby versus who?
Yeah,
who
it has
right
to be
now?
Part of the equation.
That's right. Like who? Ovi he's got one. Okay, cool.
But he's got it. He did it. And even the other guys, like you said, Iggy and them, like, but even the finals, you can even with Iggy, you can say, he got to the finals.
That's true.
I think he won the Olympics a couple times.
He did.
Right? I mean, something.
That's right. He won the Olympics.
The second round.
That's right. And, so anyways, I think that Tage Thompson, I didn't know that was my buddy's son.
Yeah, I know. I only found out the other day.
It's Brantt Thompson's son.
I thought Brantt when he played in Hartford for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, when I lived in Sylvan, I guess Tage would have just been really young, but I'd go over to Brent's and he'd lend me his Harley, and I'd take that thing for a rip. And I haven't talked to B in a long time. But anyways,
I just found out the other day, dude. I saw Tage Thompson interviewed, and he referred to it. I had no idea. Thompson's a fairly common name, and Brent, if I'm not mistaken, was a left-shooting defenseman. Am I wrong?
God, he was nuts. Jesus, that
he
guy
shot left, I think.
I don't know, but I just remember every time we played against him, he was mean and just tough.
Yeah.
But I think when I saw what Luch did with McDermott the other night, when they went into the pile and the refs had him, and Luch looked at the ref and said, "Let me go."
I saw that.
Oh, buddy, I think I watched it like 8 times because I'm just yearning to see that how it used to be all the time.
It was great. Well, it's nice to see people play with passion like that. And I'll tell you this, man, Lucic. You know what I love about it? Say what you will. He signed a deal. I think he's in the last year. Didn't he sign for 7 years with the Oilers? Back and when people were kind of upset, I think it was like, I don't know.
I think he did a 6 times 6.
6 times 6, which again, now you're looking at it going, he's, one of you, always arguably the toughest. He played it out. A lot of guys don't play it out, man. He played it out. He could have claimed injury whenever. He's an aging athlete and that fucking threw his weight. No one would have said boo if he said, well, my groin's bad, or if he mailed it in, or if he didn't train going into this year. But he's done it, and he's fighting, those guys. Think about it, in his mid-30s. Look, even guys like Shanny, I remember playing with Corson, and I would be impressed, when they would drop their gloves. But towards the end, I don't know that they did as much as at the beginning. Yeah. I don't know, Dave Manson. Think of all the guys. You kind of earn a little. But Lucic answers the bell every fucking time. He doesn't take a lot of games off. Look, he hasn't missed a lot of games, and he plays physical like that. Shows me a guy that's got pride in his game and is a loyal fucking soldier, and I love that about him.
Yes, I agree 100%. I think Milan could have played in any era. I think that he would have been regarded as like to me, he's, how can I put it? He's just one of the best all around. I know his production has went. But again, it's easy for fans or guys to get on the bandwagon and fucking start chopping him in like one of his last years of his deal when he's, who knows if he's going to play next year. But we got to watch a prime Lucic for 11 years, probably around there, like a prime Luch, where his fights were downtown through the fucking middle. You're getting hit on the button. And I love the fact that he doesn't wear a visor. I got to tell you, this whole fucking visor thing, I'll go back to this just a little bit. When I played in Hartford, they told me, son, no helmet in warm up. I couldn't wait to get out there without a helmet. It was just the most beautiful thing.
It was great. Yeah.
Then I saw all these guys, now the visors are off. It's pro. Yeah. It's the National Hockey League.
I loved going out there with no visor on.
Loved it. And then, so guys would be like, so Gretz, no visor. Mario, no visor. Mess, no visor. Shanny, no visor. You could go down the line with guys that didn't have the visors on.
Yeah.
Now, when you watch a game, it is like literally Olympic hockey.
Yeah.
Literally. And I think that as far as like the marketing of players, it's harder to market a guy that has a shield over his face. If you saw the old pictures of Gretz and the boys back in the day with the cool looking helmets on and the no visors, it was just, I don't know. It's just tough to see everybody now wearing a shield. So when you see Luch and Reeves, and I want to say,
not many,
I'm trying to think who else doesn't have a visor.
Getzlaff, I think, just went out. He didn't have one at the end.
Cassian didn't wear a visor. Cassian.
It's funny because it took me, like, when I got to camp, and it's the NHL. I'm like, I got enough pressure on me here. Montreal's fucking first round pick. I went out there, and as soon as I took it off, I could just see more peripheral. Like, it's just because there's a part.
Absolutely.
If you got your visor on, there's part of the ice that you can't see anymore. It's a half inch on the side of your eye. And I'd be like, and then I'd take it off. I'm like, man, this is like shinny. Why the fuck? Where am I going to put on a visor?
It was just so cool to rip around the ice with the old CCM bucket on and no bug shield. And it's not the player's fault. It's just the way that the insurance companies are. I don't know why anybody like number one, there's really no hits anymore like there used to be, where you get knocked out at center ice from a Scott Stevens hit. So I don't know. I don't buy the whole thing. Oh, there's less injuries now. No, I really don't buy that.
I just at some point though, even there, you see, when people say to me, look, but we're adults. I know Like, I knew going out there that, hey, if I fucking don't wear a visor, there's probably an elevated chance that if a puck comes through the air, it's going to hit me in the eye. But I know that, and I'm better at it. I don't want to wear a neck guard. We neck guard. Of course, if someone throws a fucking projectile from the stands and it hits me in the neck, or if I get a slap shot, I know that it would have been better if I had a neck guard on. But I don't want to fucking wear one. You know, like,
was it the weeding?
You're an adult.
Was it the weeding out of the fourth line tough guy?
Maybe.
Because you kidding me now, and you're playing junior and you get suspended now fucking after 3 fights? Are you kidding? I had that in a weekend or in a game.
In a game. I remember multiple games. I can count on one hand, but
yeah, man. So we're not gonna, like, we think this generation is soft when it comes. Fucking wait till the next one. Like, all it's gonna be is fucking power plays and penalty killing. That's it.
The first time I had 3 and out was we were playing in Tacoma, and I was 16 years old. I had
3 tilts as a 16-year-old
because Tacoma Kim was waiting in the dressing room. Remember that?
I remember her.
Yeah. One of the boys I go, come on.
I remember Tacoma Kim. Yeah. I do. Wow, wow. I haven't.
My first year in Tri, we were bad anyway. They wanted everybody to make the playoffs, and we had to play a playdown with Victoria the last game of the year. We sucked. We were in second last place, and so it was just a revolving door, and it was like a year that I don't know. It was almost fun as a 16-year-old to know you're going to lose like that, because we got a lot of an opportunity. And I remember the coach, we were going into Tacoma, and like we'd lost like 5 in a row, and it looked like I was so ballsy, man. I fought Purinton and 2 more. I don't remember the other 2, but I know it was 3. Purinton. Going back out for the second period, I look over, I go, are you telling me? And she was just doing that right with her finger. David Brumby, our goalie, goes, that's Tacoma Kim. And I said, oh, that's Tacoma Kim?
Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in 30 years.
Yeah. Brummer was our goalie, man. He was coming out again. I'm only 16. It was early on, like probably 10 games in.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was like, Brummer, are you serious? He goes, yeah. And he goes, fuck it. He goes, get another couple. And I did. So I didn't come out for the third period. I stayed in the room.
Oh my Lord. That's such a great story. Like, well, that's another league that is unrecognizable from when I played and you played.
Yeah.
Is the Western League. I went and watched a game. In Red Deer. And I don't know if there was one fucking hit.
Wow, I can't believe you're saying that about because it was literally everybody it was the Wild West in every sense of the word when we played it.
Look, my Lord, boy, did that get you ready for pro hockey playing in the Western League.
Oh,
and now I went and watched, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, I've been here for a period and a half, and there's not one hit.
That's incredible to me.
Fucking guys are snowing the goalie when they stop, and nobody.
You'd be benched if you didn't finish your hit. You didn't have to. Bob Laux, right? Again.
Oh,
He was this crazy barbarian. He wasn't. He was just like, guys, finish your hit. I heard all about him. He came in. I thought he was pretty tame. He was good. He was just like, don't not finish your fucking hit, though. You don't have to maim the guy, but just because he would be by the end of the game, Nolan Baumgartner or Sheldon Surrey or whoever it is going to be more tired, and they're going to give it up. That was the whole thing. If I was in the second period and didn't finish my hit, bench.
Yeah. Yes. You would literally be benched if you didn't finish a hit.
And you knew it.
Absolutely. It's, and here's the thing. If you watch a game on ESPN between Colorado and whoever, or Boston or something, back in 1996, 97, 98, 99, the electricity in the barn before the game got going.
Yeah.
Like people knew what to expect when they paid that fucking $100 to go watch that game that night.
Oh,
they knew what was coming. And I feel sorry for the fans today, the new age fans that will never, ever get to experience on a Saturday night, the game 1 of fucking Colorado and Detroit or whoever it may be, where it was a war. It was literally a war. And the refs, remember in the playoffs, the refs put the whistles away. You think it's like that now? Are you fucking kidding me?
I know. I hear that. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Come on.
You're insulting me.
Right?
Jesus.
Right?
We had to go out there, man. And if I was, God damn it, go in front of the net. Just like just welts, axe and axe on the back of your legs, everywhere, up under the ribs, everywhere that the D-man.
You ever play against Pronger? You ever play against Pronger?
Once, and I've often said to people, craziest thing I've ever done is go in front of the net with that guy, right up under your ribs, cross-check into your liver or your kidney.
Yes.
And then whack you across the back of the legs. Cross-check, whack. Cross-check, whack.
Yeah. Chris Pronger was a menace. Like, that's another guy that doesn't get talked about enough. My Lord, what a hockey! What a hockey!
6'7", one of the best anyway. Like, I mean, I think there's an argument for fucking top 4 ever. People don't seem to say that.
Well, how about this? Okay, take Victor Hedman, make him a little fucking better, and then make him one of the meanest guys in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And
okay, you want to see that every night? That's what Chris Pronger was.
And knowing that anybody that played with Pronger would always tell me, they're like, you know, he knows he's going to take his couple of penalties each night. So there's, he knows that. So he's not going to be hesitant to you coming in front of the net. Like, you're going to go cross-check.
Well, he also, but Prongs too could take care of himself, no doubt. But he also was always surrounded by a couple heavies too on each team.
Yeah.
Like, he had the Twister, he had Twister in St. Louis and Chaser, right?
Yeah, like real tough.
Real fucking tough. He had fucking Jimmy Mack in Hartford, right? He had fucking who else did he have?
I didn't know how to not play. I didn't know how to play without. There was no anywhere easy in our era. Now, people think I'm joking. This summertime, I swear to God, I'm skating as I do with all the pro guys that leave and the junior guys, whatever. We have a good skate in the summer, right? Few times a week. Even now it starts. Some of the guys are coming back from college or pro overseas or whatever. And we skate all year, and it turns real fucking wicked in the summer. And all the junior guys are talking and the pro guys. And a couple of the boys are there. And they're talking about whether they rather play at home or on the road. And I'm going, what? What do you mean you rather, like, where? They're like, well, you know, I'm pretty good at home, but on the road I find, like, you know, I can kind of wheel around that I don't have to worry about, you know, home fans. I'm like, what? I can't. There's nowhere I remember being good to go in and play. Nowhere that was better than a home game, right? At least at home, there's like, at least I'm at home and I got my own bed to sleep in, and I got my own fans cheering for me, and maybe Mark Major will be slightly less hesitant to cross-check me in my teeth.
Mark Major.
Fuck yeah, even that team. That's Portland. No one talks. Mark Major, Frank Bialowas, Ryan Vandenbush. There. I'm not even thinking.
That was on the same. They were on the same team.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
those Philly teams back then were tough.
He went from there to Philly. I remember Philly at one time had Bialowas,
Bowler-Reese,
Steve McLaren.
No,
they had
the Mac there.
Bialowas, wow. Steve McLaren, the Francis Belanger, Francis Lassard, and you know what? This is out there. Those other guys, whatever. It was just going into Philly. I remember going, fuck. And I'm telling you, I was in Freddie, as you know, for my first 2 years, and like, we really didn't have much depth when it came to toughness. And Sly Blouin, I don't mind Sly, whatever. But Sly was there, and he was like hurt every time. I'm like, fuck, I could never tell. Sly, are you fucking pulling the shoe? Because I'm like, I'm gonna fucking play this goddamn game. Me and Darcy Harris, Dave Morissette, Aaron Asham, Jerry Fleming would always.
You played with the Moose?
I played with Moose, yeah.
No.
I played the game that Moose cut Probert and put him out of the game. Did you ever see that?
Yes. So you were there.
That's the game I fought Cam Russell. That was my last NHL shift. I fought Russell earlier in the shift or earlier in the game.
Oh, I want to check that out. Yeah, the Moose, man. He was. We had a couple good battles. He was playing for the Moose. He was
Manitoba Moose. Yeah,
he was playing for Manitoba, and he was a boy. Oh boy, you know, there's some guys you look at and you're like, oh, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah.
And I looked at the Moose. And the black goatee and the big wrist and all that kind of stuff. You're like, just a fucking barrel chest on him, and you're like,
Ro-
okay, how's this gonna go tonight?
Wrote a
You
book
know?
and admitted to doing steroids. I didn't see him do it, but it didn't surprise me.
He was on the
I'm
juice,
talking
eh?
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah. And he would pack like he had a strong punch. He would sit and like if he caught you, Moose's problem, he would throw so hard that he would often fall over.
If he missed, if he missed, yeah.
But
Yeah.
if he hit you, anyway. So we were on the bench, man, and it was I believe me, him, and Trent McCleary were the fourth line, and we were playing Probert Jansen's Russell. So I was like going, fuck yeah, that was the line, the fourth line. I was going out going, hold. So I fought Cam Russell that night. It was highlight of the night, but because his fight with Probert obviously was a big accomplishment. That was insane. I've never seen Probert. He fucking hit him. Proby started leaking and went down and had to go off.
I know. I'm like, oh boy, this isn't going to be the end of Proby. Like he's going to be
no. But that, yeah. Anyway, I went off. But we went in. Moose I could rely on. But it was like me and Ash who are middleweights. Asham's real tough, man. Look at his fights. But we're going in. I don't know if we were first on the menu for like Steve McLaren, if that was supposed to be the case, but it would be. And that fucking Lassard, the other guys I could talk to, he hated me. He never once smiled. It was like a rhinoceros. And I like, you know, the cartoon.
Have you ever seen him get hurt?
No.
I mean, this guy would open up with lefts. And he'd go toe to toe with anybody.
Yeah.
And he was like Domi. You could hit him 50 times and nothing, not a mark.
Unbelievable. He's lining up. This is on YouTube. And he's lining up in Philly. I'm with the St. John's Leafs at this point, 99, 2000. And I'm looking over and I'm starting the game on left and I know it. And he's fucking grunting and fucking timid and hard. And he comes over. I said, fuck it. So I fucking fought him. And I'm perfect for him. Because he knows I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw. I'm probably not going to knock him out with a punch like Morissette will. It's going to make him look at least decent. But I fucking said, fuck it. He hit me hard. I wasn't going to go down. I kept going. And fucking go to the penalty box. Come out again. Let's fucking go. Again. Sandman's on the bench loving this. He goes, don't do it again. I said, fucking rights. I'm doing it again. I fought him again the third time. And we came back to St. John's.
Yeah.
And I fought him first shift the next fucking game.
Oh, my gosh. You fought him 4 times in
a row. Come back in St. John's. This was now the first game first shift next game. We go to the box and he looks over. You bleeding? You bleeding? And I'm bleeding. And then he laid off. Then now that he finally made me bleed. I guess that was it.
So did you like fighting lefties?
No, I didn't like that he was trying to show me up and I got a hate out for it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't love it. Matt Odette, we had a fucking couple good ones too. Big guy. I loved Langer. That's why I loved Langer. I wasn't great at it. I didn't mind switching hands and I could, but Langer, like I actually watched his tapes trying to model, like I couldn't do it like he could, but I know what you're saying about the technical part of it, right? He would wrap you around and I don't know, he was like a fucking Venus flytrap or something. All of a sudden people, like you got tough guys and they're fighting Langer and he got the better of them.
He was like the Horace Gracie of NHL fighters.
Yeah.
Like wasn't the biggest, but other than the one fight where Grimson lifted his shirt above his head and tied it in a knot.
Yeah.
Other than and then Brad May when his jersey came off one night, but that's not
other than those.
Other than those.
Consistently.
Fucking his fights with McSorley and Probert and Brashear and whoever. That guy to me, I tell all my buddies, I'm like, this kid doesn't get enough recognition.
No, he doesn't.
On going down as one of the top 10 all-time like best fighters ever.
Best fighters ever. And, a lot of the approach, Mizey, a lot of the approach was, I'm going to get set. I'm going to take fucking 8 or 10 first. Like, he knew to go in. Like, I remember learning that I could take a punch for the first couple times. Like, that was like, whew, yeah, okay, I can do this then. If those bare knuckles just hit me and I'm not knocked out, right? You got to learn that you can do that. But he would go next level. He would, like, be fighting Probert and get that Langer fucking hug in, and then they'd be punching him and he'd take him. And then he'd come back.
It was like when I fought him, I remember saying, okay, Mizey, like as soon as this fight happens and you square off and you grab this guy, you got to take his helmet off.
Yeah.
You have to fucking take his helmet off because he fucking hides. He puts his chin down, and he used to wear like a bit of a bigger bucket back then. And so instantly I took I grabbed him with my right, and I took my left hand and I went to the back of the bucket and I popped it off right away. And then now I'm like, okay, we're on a bit even playing field here. And then I started to gas out. Like maybe 45 seconds into it, and he could tell that I was gassing out.
Yeah, he can, but because that's what he does, man.
Yeah, he's like, okay, this is where I take over. And then somehow I think either I went down or I don't know what happened at the end, but we both went down. And Darren Langdon, it was nice to see that you had him on because you don't see a lot of Langer either.
No, you don't see a lot of Langer. We played a few those NHL charity games. It was Wendell Clark and friends, actually. It was a great time. But that's when I said it. I go, Langer, geez, you're not out there much. Would you come on my podcast? He goes, yeah, of course. You never asked me. But I think I just assumed he wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, that was great.
But, the thing about Langer, I fought Langer twice. And the first time, I remember going, the first time
When the hell did you fight him?
Oh, man, in senior hockey. Yeah.
You fought Langdon.
I fought Langdon.
Senior, like an actual.
Corner Brook Royals were fucking flying me in from a 6-hour drive from St. John's. They were flying me in. They were paying me money to do a job, man. They were paying me good money.
God.
Now, it's not the Quebec Senior League where everybody fights.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's a good league.
The goal is the Herder. The goal is the Allen Cup. Whatever.
Allen Cup, yeah. Good hockey, man. Really good hockey.
Good hockey. Each team had a bunch of pro guys that came back and good locals, and sold out. Nice atmosphere. Put me through part of my schooling. Mm-hmm. So Langer had come back. It was 04-05. He was playing in New Jersey. It was lockout year, and everybody was saying he was going to play for Deer Lake, which is the arch rival of my team. I'm like, no, Langer's not playing. And sure enough, he came out, man. He dressed, and the place was There was a vibe, like you said, in warm up, and I was like, "How's he going to approach this? Is he going?" Because I knew Langer. I mean, Langer and I had beers when I played New York, my only game against Gretzky, and he made sure Gretzky came over, and I can go on and on. Nice. Me and Langer knew each other. We're best buddies, but I looked up to him like you were saying, Dave Brown.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
It was awkward for me more than anything. So, and he ran the goalie first shift. Our goalie Jeff Murphy. I looked. And we had Todd Gillingham, who just passed away. Rest in peace, Todd. We had a couple of local guys.
Wait, Todd Gillingham passed away?
He did, yeah. 3 months ago, substance, for the most part.
No way, I didn't. How, was it in the media or anything? I never heard about it.
Not a whole lot. Yeah, he had a struggle.
Wow, Gilly. Yeah, I remember Gilly.
Great. Just honestly, I can't say enough about how great of a person he was outside of when he drank. It was night and day, and he had some demons, and he got into the drugs. And I'm not talking out of school.
Sure, yeah.
And we all loved him, and he didn't overcome it, man. But my memories with Gilly are great ones. And Gilly was there that night. And Gilly, you see, grew up in Corner Brook. Langer grew up in Deer Lake. They're around the same age, and so there was a thing going back to like when they were like 10 years old, right? And I just kind of came in the middle, but I knew Gilly. I love Gilly, but I knew Gilly was no match for Langer. The people in Corner Brook thought so because they're just watching these guys go away every year and come back. And that was right before the internet was out, but YouTube, I don't think, was a thing. It was 04, 05, 05, 06, like around there. And so anyway, Gilly started in a warm-up. Shit, it was fucking craziness, a lot of fights. That particular year. And Langer did that. So I went on the ice. I just looked and I said, I'm probably the most, not qualified, but I knew that I wouldn't go down right away. And I knew the people in Corner Brook wanted somebody to stand up to Darren Langdon. It was like,
I can't believe you fought him, man. Wow.
I dropped my gloves. He said no. So I went to pick him up again, and he fucking pushed me then and turned around, and then he dropped him. I guess he thought about it. I'm at home. I'm going to say no to a fight. And he was in the NHL. It was just a lockout.
Sure.
And I'm probably got 20 pounds on.
Okay.
I'm collecting a senior paycheck. Okay. I'd end up going through a change of sorts, ball hockey and all that, but that wasn't until the next year. This is the peak of, I always played hockey. I would have been the most out of shape here. And anyway, I started to go, and he started wrapping me up, and I'm going, Mizey, and I'm hitting him, and I'm like, I'm 7 or 8, and I'm going, I don't even like where this is going.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that I'm not giving Darren Langdon too much that he can handle.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
hasn't done anything. It was like if you were in the water and you knew that Jaws was like swimming around somewhere underneath you, and you might get to land and nothing will happen. But you
yeah,
know that if he's just waiting to fucking chomp, and sure
yeah,
enough, and he swung me one way, swung me the other, took his
yeah.
fucking arm out and started going. I didn't go down, but fuck, was it a master class in fighting?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He, uh, man, oh man, I couldn't believe what he was doing to the heavies,
Heavies.
like Grimson and all the big boys. Like then he fought Twister, and like I just, it was amazing. I'm like, I've just never seen a guy that was so technical and calm. And then just find a way to use both hands really well.
He's an artist
Excellent.
at work.
Man, he was so great to. And here's another thing I loved about Langer is that he was a cool, tough guy.
Yeah.
So he's a fucking cool, tough guy. So he's playing at MSG, right?
Yeah.
The fucking bright lights of New York City. He's got 99 next to him who loved him.
Loved him.
Loved Langer, right? So Gretz loves Darren Langdon. And he'd just line up with Domi first shift of the game, get a stick between his nuts and lift it up a little bit. And they just sort of stare at each other. They'd know. They'd have a great fight, tap each other on the helmet. It's just sad that I got a YouTube fights from the 90s now because, the only other time I got excited was the other night when Minnesota played Calgary. And I'm like, okay, Reeves and Luch didn't go the first game. No problem. They're going 100% next game. Like it has to happen. There's just for sure. I'm watching. I'm like, as soon as the first period ended, I'm like, nah, it's not happening. This is not happening.
You know what is also great about the fact that you can go watch these fights now on YouTube?
Yeah.
Because they used to go I say to people, I watched a considerable amount on VHS. Like you said, either Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah.
There was a lot saved. I brought tapes they would all be not like now HD and everything, but most games were taped.
Mm-hmm.
In case there was a suspension or whatever. I used to go in and get some and watch the fights. But now I can go back and retroactively watch ones that I missed, that I only heard about. Because you couldn't just on demand. Now I can watch Chris Murray fight Steve McLaren at the Memorial Cup in 93, 94. A great fight. And I'd only heard about it because it wasn't on replay, right? But now...
Chris Murray, does anybody ever talk about Chris Murray? How tough Murray. That guy was.
Yeah,
my Lord.
And a tough guy on a great team in Kamloops that doesn't get talked about a lot. Yeah.
Not at all. Chris Murray, then he gets to Ottawa and he's like hanging in with all the big boys, like he was really tough too. My Lord, there was just, a lot of Danny Vial.
In Montreal, my time there. He had like 25 or 30 goals in Freddie too. Like he was, we got called up and someone wants to watch, I fought Daniel Paquette, I think was his name. But he fought Jeff Odgers, man. And Odgers was a scary, out of nowhere, I shouldn't say scary tough, almost, but he was underrated tough. Kind of like Asham that would come after him. And fucking him and Odgers just went straight on. And Murr broke his hand and he didn't even back. But people ask me, were your hands sore? I'm like, yeah, from game one. From game one till the end of the year, they were never not sore. At least my right hand.
Well, you know how we've just talked about tough guys for a while? Man, be good to get something going where, we could have some type of a panel or some type of a discussion room with like Marty, Brownie, Ty, Rob Ray, because they're all so loved from those eras that there'd be so many people that would be really interested to hear different views on that. Brownie's never done a podcast. What? Marty McSorley, I haven't heard him do a podcast.
You don't hear a lot, do you?
No, and I'm like, people want to hear these guys. Troy Crowder, let's talk about the fucking night before you went into Detroit and did some damage. Like Proby and Rob Ray sat down. That was great when they sat down together.
Yeah,
and they did that thing. But there's not enough of it. Like, I don't know. I think I think it'd be good if somebody could try and put something together. I don't know what it would be though.
It's funny. I'm going to Sudbury to do Shoresy season 2 in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And last year we were going in for the first day, just like middle of the day to get used to our gear and like go for a little whirl at noon. And who's walking out with a sack over his shoulder, like an old school hockey bag and a stick?
Who?
Troy Crowder.
Oh, Crowds.
Yeah. And there's another person that I say to people, I'm like, wow, like he was
big. He was that one year. He was almost as popular for that year as Proby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you said Troy Crowder, it was like he got featured on Rock'em Sock'em. He was my roommate. Yeah, we were roommates in Ontario in Hamilton for a hockey school. We lived together for about, I think it was only a couple weeks, but Crowds was great guy.
Myhres, in 1927,
the Titanic sank.
1914, the Titanic.
1917, didn't it?
That's 17, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Fuck, you got me there. Yeah, 1927, stop time. They first started stopping time in the NHL. 1937, icing is introduced. 1927, another rule came in. You could finally pass it forward. You couldn't pass it forward till then. 1956. It took until then that when you got a penalty, only one goal, because otherwise you could score 5 goals on a 2-minute power play if you wanted. And Richard Beliveau and company did. So point is, rules have always been changing. People say, well, hockey the way it used to be, but it never used to be like anything. For every time that I could say, well, Gretzky played with nets or goalies that were worse, you could say, well, McDavid plays with 3-on-3 overtime and a red line or no red line.
And no obstruction, by the way.
And no obstruction. Someone that likes Rocket Richard, I could say, well, fine, but he used to get multiple goals on the one power play. So there's a push and a pull, and it's hard to compare eras. But what do you think will be something in, say, 25 years from now that will be real different and will change the game in another historic? It could happen next year, but say 25 years from now, it's almost 2050. What do you think has happened?
I think the way that we watch the game from home will change dramatically. I'm not sure what that's going. I don't know if it's like, for instance, when you watch, like, I think the National Hockey League needs to do a better job of televising games. I think that my God, it is 2023. And I think that they need to somehow find a way to get the cameras closer to the ice, just like they are in basketball and just like they are in the NFL.
It's a great point. I never heard that point of view before.
Well, if you're a new fan and you're tuning into a game and it's some of these rinks aren't as good to watch a game on TV as it would be in Edmonton or Calgary or Toronto. But if you're watching a game, like, let's say, whoever it may be, if it's Seattle or whatever, my point is that the cameras need to do a better job that people don't have to guess on who's on the ice. Like, I can tell who's on the ice by the way they skate, but the average fan can't. And I just think that the game will be viewed hopefully different in 25 years. There will be no more fighting. That'll be done for sure.
Interesting. And what do you think? Do you think people will be playing with full cages?
Oh boy. If they full cage, man, I mean, it was really hard for me to swallow the visor thing. If they bring in the full bubbles, I don't know, man, it's gonna be tough.
I know, but I mean, I mean, it might, you know what I mean? Like, visor seemed almost comical at one point.
Yeah.
And I understand why people wear them. At some point, I mean, it happens and you can understand it, right? And sometimes it's needed. And
but you should leave it up to the player, though. That shouldn't be
I agree.
that shouldn't be grandfathered in like it is. Like okay, 99 or 66. If you want to wear one, go ahead. If you don't. But I don't think that should have been forced on the players. And it started in junior, and then it worked its way. Actually, I'm sorry, it didn't start in junior. It started in the American Hockey League, where they tried it out for a year or two. And then they started this whole grandfather rule in. I didn't agree with it at all.
I know. I hear you. I feel I just rather make the decision on my own. It's my body.
Absolutely.
It's my profession. And you're talking about something that's arguably, in my mind, if I'd rather play without it. And we're talking millions of dollars. We're talking my own living, that I'm putting bread on the table for me and my family and whoever. And I want to play with no visor.
Well, it's no different than when Evander Kane got hurt. It's like, if you want to wear wrist guards, go ahead, throw them on.
Yeah.
You got fucking blades flying around you all the time. Go ahead. You want to put a neck guard on? Go ahead. Sure. Go ahead. But I just felt by introducing that now everybody has to put on a visor in the National Hockey League, I'm sorry. That took away the mystique and the intrigue of making it to the NHL, and for the fans too.
Totally agreed. What's your favorite video game of all time? Do you play
Tomb Raider? Tomb Raider, little story, PlayStation 1, when I was with the Flyers. I went back to my apartment and I played that game for 6 months straight. And I finally beat it after 6 months. So,
jeez, you should. You're up in cold.
Addictive personality.
I love that game, by the way. I've done every Tomb Raider. There was
one. I stopped the Tomb Raiders after PS2 because then it got onto all these controls and joysticks, and I was a simple guy, man. I'm jump, turn, whatever.
Get your PS4 going. Get a PS4.
Oh, I know, it looks so good. Jump on
and play at night together. Solve the fucking crime together.
It looks so good.
Tonight at about 7:30, I'm going to go on in Red Dead Redemption land. With 3 or 4 of my buddies. We're going to rob a bank, maybe hunt some moose, maybe a grizzly bear up in the mountains, do a little cook up. Oh yeah,
that's great.
It's so immature, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, we're almost done, dude. It's fucking an hour and 40 minutes because I had all these questions and I really didn't ask you any, as always. I did.
Yeah, wait. We'll do one more. So, I liked your island question. So you're stuck on an island for 5 years. On your plate every day for 5 years, you get 3 meals. They can be anything: lobster, steak, whatever. And then you get 1 drink, okay? And you get 1 album. What do you take with you on the island for 5 years?
For 5 years. So break down the food again.
You can have 3 different things on your plate to eat. You can have 1 drink, okay, and 1 album.
Oh, 3 different things on my plate each meal.
It can be anything. It can be lasagna.
But I got to pick 3, and I can have a variation of any 3, but I can't. Okay.
That's right. Anything.
And in this world, I guess it's what I like. I love how you flip the questions around. This is as much you interviewing me. And I'm not counting calories or anything here, right?
Bro, you ain't counting calories on the island.
Yeah, true. Okay. Interesting. I would take some form of pasta for sure. So let's say tortellini rosé, and I'm going to go as far as to say, if possible, from Weinstein and Gavino's. That's on Crescent Street in Montreal.
Excellent choice. It's
going to be tortellini rosé from there. I'm going to have the seafood chowder from Merchant Tavern in downtown St. John's. Jeremy Charles, my buddy, the world-renowned chef. He does a lot of things differently, but I love his seafood chowder, and I am from Newfoundland, so that'll be my seafood.
Okay, so you're starting with your soup, and then you're going into the tortellini. What are you going to have with the tortellini?
I'm flipping a coin, and I'm flipping a coin here between some kind of a burger and fish tacos.
Okay.
I love fish tacos. I got a weakness, but I already had the seafood soup.
You've got a lot of seafood going on. Maybe you want to put the burger in there.
Okay. No. There you go. A burger of some sort.
Okay. What's your drink?
100% would be Coke Zero or Diet Coke.
Okay, Diet Coke. Okay, and then your album?
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. I think it was the most,
Wow.
what's the word, influential album ever by the most important band. It's the most important album ever by the most important band ever. So I will take that.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay.
It's as much of a historical pick. I mean, I love the Beatles. I love sounds, of course, of the Beatles.
Yeah.
But I often say if people don't like them, that's fair. But you have to understand what they did and how much they transcended music, rock music at least, pop music, and how influential. But almost any band that came after them are borrowing something.
Yeah.
To be honest. So there you go. That's a long-winded way to ask.
Nice.
So now, I
Good one.
guess, seems like you had that one queued up. Well, I'm asking you the same question then.
I'd probably go. I'd have an Australian lobster tail with butter. I would have my grandma's Caesar salad, and then I would also have my grandma's pierogies with onions and bacon.
Look at that. Northern Alberta is always the pierogies. You know, I didn't see a pierogi till I lived with Sheldon Surrey.
Yeah, you'd see one there.
Yeah. I remember Sheldon used to go, he had no worries. He used to go to McDonald's and order 4 Big Macs, eat them all.
Oh, yeah. When you look like that, you can eat whatever. My drink would be I would have a 5 Alive with ice.
A 5 Alive. So that's what you like for your thirst quenching?
Yeah, 5 Alive. If I'm going to be on the beach every day, 5 Alive with a glass of ice. Yeah.
It's very, nothing bad about a 5 Alive. It's almost underrated.
Peach flavor. So peach 5 Alive. If I was able to mix a little bit of ginger ale in there too, that'd be great. But then the album, oh boy. I mean, I'm either going Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell or I'm going Bon Jovi New Jersey. It's one of the two.
And you know what? Those albums are similar in many ways, like the production and the instruments that are used, and they're both underrated, but they're both by these artists that are, I believe, both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but still somehow seem a little bit underrated.
Yes,
as we get away from them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I guess I was assuming as well. I mean, if I'm on a fucking island and I'm eating, I don't drink. When I drink, I tend to be the life of the party, but I don't drink a lot. So I was never like battle the demons you did. But let's just say if I was going to drink, my favorite drink right now would be, I don't know, vodka and pineapple.
Pink Whitney.
I like vodka. I don't mind Pink Whitney. I like vodka and pineapple. I bounce a couple of those doubles in me and then maybe get on the beer. I couldn't drink them all night. Too much sugar. But what was your drink of choice? Whiskey?
I to start out, it would be a couple cold beers, and then it would be Crown or some type of whiskey with some Coke. But at the end of the night, when it was 6 or 7 or 8 in the morning, and you're doing blow all night, the only drink that you could really drink at that point would be like, my drink would be vodka with 5 Alive and Sprite, I could down it literally. Any other drink, I'd almost throw up. It was weird. I don't know why, but yeah.
It's I don't have a favorite alcohol. I don't really know where to go. I know that usually when I start, I have a pint and I have a shot of Jack Daniels, and that was BJ Young. That's the way we started every night. So yeah, JD. It's it, and the reason that hangovers always people like they always bothered me a little bit. You seem to be which is not a great thing if they don't, but you mustn't have gotten bad hangovers, did you, if you're going through all that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was, oh geez, you know when you're praying in your bed for God to give you one more day to survive, and you really mean it.
I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, I had lots of the praying moments.
So wouldn't you think, knowing what you know, I find it funny when a lot of people kill themselves, and not to get morbid, I don't fucking know where everybody at some point has something that gets them down in one way or another. But if you were all fucked up, like stoned like that at like fucking 7 or 8, like
Yeah.
I'm sure that we don't hear that a lot of people that do it, that's what's happened. I mean, I really don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to name anybody because I don't want to disrespect their
Oh,
memory.
you mean taking their own life?
I think that because there's a point when you're all fucked up that it probably. Yeah, I mean, people do it, and you often hear people. I don't know. Again,
if you have suicidal tendencies, like
yeah,
there was only one time, and I think I did write about it, where I was in bed and sleeping with a whole bunch of dog hair, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I had this big gut hanging over me, and I was sweating, and I was a bum, and I looked out the window and I saw all these stars, and I just said, hey, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I think I'm done with all this. I don't want to be here any longer.
It's tough.
And then I went into a peaceful sleep. Yeah. I went into a peaceful sleep, and I woke up another day. And but I could see that when you get to desperation, the substances probably definitely are a catalyst for getting enough, I guess, nerve to actually go through with it.
Yeah. I know. Like, I don't know anything, but I just often wonder. I'm like, if you're down and out and you're depressed, and I've been there, and I'm not saying I've been suicidal. I don't know. You'd have to get right inside my psyche. I know it hasn't been good, and I know that if I didn't have a family around me, and like, I don't know what would have happened, but I know that if I was all fucked up and not just drunk, like on coke or or something, and having, or say I was in that position and I was on a rooftop. I mean, some people they're probably not as depressed as you would think. They just get themselves into that state. They're having a bad day or month. I mean, who knows? I guess we will never know. But I just found I have been there a couple times, I find it really, that's a dangerous place to be, because what came before us probably didn't expect that their life would turn out like that.
Well, yeah. It's. Are you going anywhere in the upcoming? Does anybody know about your little venture yet?
About the Machu Picchu?
Yeah.
No. So I'm throwing this out there to you. So my buddy and I, Taran Sandwith, people know him, the Sandman, one of my best friends in the world, has been on this program a lot. We're going to Machu Picchu. We're doing it in July. I've got to be back here for a couple of reasons on July 22nd. And so we're going to figure out a time between the end of June and July 22nd that we're going to go down there.
Amazing.
I think now I know what it sounds like, of course, going down to Peru and Colombia, that we're on a party.
You're not bringing me.
Well, it's not the case. We're going to go on a hike. We're going to quote unquote find out a little bit more about ourselves. Find ourselves. At least try to. And you're always welcome, because I know you're one of Sandman's buddies as well.
I love Sandy. I think that I mean, I could travel anywhere in the world now, and it wouldn't faze me, even though the cocaine there is like 99% pure, and it's like, I don't know, 30 bucks a gram or something.
Oh, but who knew? Yeah. Who's counting? Yeah.
I mean, like I've always had fantasies of doing really, really good coke, and that's the place where you would do it. But anyways, no, I think that adventure that you guys are going on is going to be incredible, and I can't wait to hopefully you do something in terms of letting the public be able to come along for that ride and watch that.
I didn't think of it till you said it, and maybe I will. It's going to be interesting for so many reasons. There's a big Machu Picchu is a big, like, Inca ancient civilization. Not ancient, I guess 15th century is where the most recent of the archaeological digs or finds would have taken us. But it's a unique little hike. It's in Peru, and it's this little community that they found and they dug out. It's on the top of a mountain, and it's for so many reasons the top of the mountain. It's situated in a perfect place for them. There's irrigation, there's apartments, there's bathrooms. It's interesting. We often think we're ignorant to think that that this civilization that we're living in is the only one that ever really mattered, that thought things out. But other than electricity, a lot of places did have it figured out. There's
Where
an
are you
argument to be
guys
made.
staying?
Well, Sandman, I left it up to him. There's
Oh,
you
okay.
can either, I think, like I said, we're going to fly into Argentina or Colombia, okay,
Yeah.
and then make our way to Peru. Again, that's a short flight. He knows what he's doing. And
Yeah.
there's somewhere, I guess, you stop and it's a 50 or 80-kilometer hike
Wow.
/ I mean, I think
Wow.
there might be small levels of transportation from A to B, but it's a large part. It's a hike.
Yeah. That's yeah. It's gonna be awesome. It's really what a journey for you in Sandy to go on. It's amazing.
I love traveling. If there's one thing that the game gave to me that I took for granted when I stopped was the travel. Going, now I gotta, pay to go to somewhere like Philadelphia. That just it. You would never, if I went to my neighbor and said, "Oh, let's go to Philadelphia," I'm sure it would be weird. Say, for example, most people would say, "Well, we got one trip a year. Let's go to Florida. Or let's go to LA, or I don't know, Cuba or wherever." But those little places that you learn so much, like, getting up for a game and going down, well, let's see the Liberty Bell. Where was Rocky shot? Where then off to the next city. The next, you might get sent down. The next city is, I don't know, Hartford or Roanoke, but there's something there that you take with you. And you travel all over. And I just find it's the best education and how better,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it, buddy.
Mizey, what you should do, what would be great if you can come over and visit Newfoundland. We got a lot going on here in the summertime, man. Talk hikes. The East Coast Trail is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You would enjoy it. We get decent weather. Well, everywhere does in the summer, but like if you're going to come, now wouldn't be the time. The summer would be. We got icebergs floating by, whales, seals, lots of fishing. I could take you out cod fishing.
We got at some point for sure in the next, I'd say calendar year, we've got to find a way to like get together and spend some time together.
Because life's too short.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So let's do that. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. Do you have anything to promote? Do you have anything? What do you got coming up with your book?
No, I obviously it's dear to my heart. I'm going to get active with it for 2 years with what happened, with COVID and all that kind of stuff. I sort of went on the back burner, but once I move back to Edmonton here in the next month, then I'm going to start doing what I originally wanted to do when the book got released that I didn't get a chance to do, and then who knows what's in store for Brantt Myhres? I don't know yet.
That's interesting, but a great. I await with positive suspense and anticipation. And good luck, my friend, in whatever it is you do. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks, TR.
Okay, thank you. This has been Tales with TR. That's been Brantt Myhres, my good buddy from way back in the day. And it truly is a rollicking story. Painkiller, folks. I can't recommend it enough. If you're a hockey fan and just, you don't even really need to be a hockey fan at all. Hockey's a vehicle here for the story of a man that grew up, a hockey player, a son, so many things, a brother, but in my mind, what's his word? He was one of the most confident, ferocious, peers that I remember coming into the Western League and just finding out about his existence. This big demon of a hockey player that would fucking fight you and beat the shit out of you as soon as look at you. But the more I got to know about Brantt Myhres, the more I realized that he's more himself now than he's ever been. He's got all those stories. It's an adventure. It's up and it's down. It's a roller coaster ride. But in the end, he's with us. And what a purpose. You talk about life with purpose. Not only a great father, but an inspiration to many, like I said, hockey players and non-hockey players alike. Brantt is a true role model for not only me, but millions of people around the world. Thank you very much, Brantt. And folks, of course, if you're downtown in St. John's this particular weekend, why wouldn't you go for a bite to eat? And if you're going to do that, go to Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, or Wedgwood Cafe. I'd highly recommend. If I'm going to go for a drink, what do? I normally go to the Bull and Barrel. I go to Trinity Pub. I go to TJ's Pub. I go to Greensleeves Pub, the Martini Bar, Rob Roy Confusion. I go there because they're my buddies. And I like the cut of their gym, and I love their establishments. If I'm going to go work out, I go to Rope Walk Lane, power conditioning, strength and balance for the body and mind. If I'm going to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 spots in St. John's, Newfoundland, on Torbay Road and on Cammount Road. Live, laugh, lube. And of course, if I'm looking for pain relief, I look no further than Pitbull Pain Relief. PitbullPainRelief.com. The pain sticks that keep on giving, let's say. They keep on giving. I use them for my aches and pains. I've been doing it for 2 years, and I don't think I'll ever look back. Thanks very much for tuning in. Thank you to Brantt Myhres. And thank you to each and every one of you that make this all possible. The production of Tales with TR. I'm having a great time, and I hope you are too. See you again soon. Have a great fucking weekend, everybody. Catch you on the rebound.